Wednesday. I'm a little bit sick today. This is a little bit of a cold that, as a surprise to no teachers, is emerging here right at the end of the semester. We have a week and a half to go though before I get like the big rest. So we're just gonna power through, and that's what it is. It's not terrible. I'm grateful for that. So yesterday we did our book work. We had tactile materials for fire building. The students were really into that. They really like to touch and talk about it and just have a little bit of a, kinesthetic extension of the material so that they could maybe have that. My idea was for them to have that a little bit more in mind while they were writing. They really impressed me with their writing. I had most of my classes write for a full 12 minutes. That might not seem like much to teachers of gen ed classes, but in my reading intervention class, 12 minutes of solid focused work with a thought towards organized ideas and a main message with supporting ideas and sequential thinking. There's a lot of skill that's showing up there, and I was really proud of my kids for hanging in there. 201. So that was great. I was really happy with how that went. Afterward, we got back into our book work, and I've said this before in these videos. I know a lot of people are maybe kind of disappointed at how rote the structured literacy program goes. Even the term structured literacy right now, I'm noticing some people push back on that. It's kind of a muddy term. What does that even mean? It refers to this set of practices that are mostly kind of vanilla and uninspiring. But I will tell you, I don't disagree with that perspective, but I'll say that it also can be something that is familiar and what's the word? Like the kids kind of relax into the structure of the structured literacy program, and they like having mastery in the routine, if not always in the decoding of the multisyllabic words. They stumble on words that maybe some of their peers in a gen ed class wouldn't stumble on, but here together doing that out loud with no more than 9 other students, there's a safety in that, or at least a sense of being held where one is, and the routine, I think, helps them to relax into that. So I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing. I have the freedom in this position to teach the structured literacy program with the additions that I'm bringing in. I'm allowed to take creative risks. Allowed. That's an interesting word there. I've kind of accepted that this position is very much like scrutinized. That by this position, I mean a public school teacher is very much scrutinized in America today. Micromanaged in a lot of ways. Certainly teacher autonomy is constantly under threat, but 100% under surveillance. So in this position though, in this building, in this district, I'm trusted to implement the curriculum and also add extensions where I know that my students are going to be able to show creativity and growth and have increased engagement and enjoyment and a strong relationship with me that I hope extends into their academic career throughout the curriculum here and then also beyond. That got really philosophical here for a minute. Okay, but I will use that to parlay into this. The next 2 days, I'm going to introduce a project today that is more creative, that is an extension of the work that we've been doing into creative projects. And so I am required to have the objective for all my lessons listed on the board. And I used to just write them out, but I went ahead and printed off and then had the library laminate a set of all the objectives that I work with so I could just flip to it every time. So I added some this week that were specifically objectives around creative projects. So if I had an administrator or a district official come into the classroom, I could show how I was demonstrating this objective. So the objective that we're going to be working on this week is students will be able to transform key events or messages from a text into a creative response in order to demonstrate understanding. So this will apply to almost all of the arts integration projects that we do, because we in this class will be working with a text that we will be extending and showing engagement and understanding of through a creative project. So the next 2 days, not today, but the next 2 days, this is the objective that will be displayed, like, you know, propped up on my whiteboard for any administrator that comes in to see what we're doing. And the project that we're going to be doing is we're going to be making infographics around how to build fire. That's the topic of the how-to paragraph that they wrote yesterday, and now we're going to be using that same information in a different way. So in a creative online platform that kind of specializes in and like savvy graphics with really cute templates, I created a student folder. I'm in the process of figuring out how to get verified as an educator so I can get my students on. There's a few hiccups there, but I feel confident we can work it out. And I made some templates for them to work with, and they're going to be making infographics on how to build a fire. So I also have this handout. I'm going to introduce them today to what makes a good infographic. We're going to look at some good and bad examples and talk about the elements of a good infographic. And this will go into their writer's notebook. And on the back of this, for Friday, after they have created their infographic, which will be the bulk of tomorrow's work, I have this rubric here, and the main elements I'm asking them to focus on, only 4: focus and main message, visual design, information and data, and clarity and readability. And then the rubric goes from 1 to 3. So I will introduce the idea of infographics today. We'll look at some good and bad examples. I'll give them this to staple into their writer's notebook, and then this will guide their work tomorrow. They'll be looking at the rubric so they can see they're aiming for the 3s here. They're aiming for the 3s here. And then on Friday, I'll take this with each of their writer's notebook, and I'll go ahead and assess them when they present their infographics. So that today is book work, but before we do book work, we're going to do that warm up where we're looking at good and bad infographics, and we're talking about the features and then preparing them for what comes ahead.